Right. Well, first of all, sorry?
No, it's okay.
Now, I've actually got double duty because, as you can see, the surviving parent, we only have one, I have to stand in for various people, so you have to bear with me that I'm allowed a little longer than anyone else, but I'm still very limited, I know, by Zin, who will shut me up and I'll have to sit down whether I've finished or not. She decided that. That's the way life has gone. Now, I just want to do the obvious welcoming of guests from around the world, the usual old stuff, but it really is true in this case. We have people as far away as Salt Lake City, here, people from Tampa in Florida, Hangzhou in China, people from Speyside, all around us, and people from London and around that area, and a variety of hangers-on who can stagger home. Local dear friends who we are so pleased to have here, and we're really very pleased to have you all here, quite seriously. And we want to thank you so much for coming, and also for your lovely gifts, and just for your presence. I think that means more than anything, so thank you so much. Now bear with me if I do a bit of reading, because I'm afraid the way things have gone this last few days, I really haven't looked at this since last Wednesday. So, I suppose really first of all, and this is really quite important, and we sort of started to allude to it this morning, I wanted to remember, and this is sort of semi-serious, but I think they would not want us to be too serious, our dear departed family members. Certainly for us, that's really quite important. It's one of the things about having these occasions when one's a little more mature. I think, you know, if I was 25, I wouldn't be giving this sort of speech. Particularly, I want to remember Zin's parents and my mother.
My dad.
Yeah, but I know,
My mom.
what I do know about all of them is they want us, no, well I do know, I knew all of them, and I do want to remember them. I know they would want us to do this with fond memories and humour. And they really would want to enjoy and laugh with us on this occasion. Now, first of all, I wanted to just say a couple of words about Jerry and Marion, who I think you've already met earlier on. Marilyn. Gosh, all those years. Well, I suppose there's one advantage. My mother-in-law now will be very upset. Now, I really am, and I really mean this very sincerely, but I really, it was just great that I actually had time to get to know them. I met them, I got to know them, I knew what made them tick, they knew something about me, they knew how serious I was about Zin, and I really do have very fond memories of them. And it did seem that, to me that they seemed a little more reassured and happy, knowing that for once they'd got some stabilising influence on their wild child. And, you know, sadly that was a bit optimistic perhaps, but I suppose at best, and again I think Zin spoke when we had our little family dinner last night, and she said, you know, Marilyn, as a good Jewish mother, at least she was able to say that she now had a doctor in the family. And that really was quite an important moment. And I know that did make her happy. I think since we've already started talking about them, and as they're here now, we will actually, and their last wish was that they wanted to have their ashes scattered in Hawaii, which we're actually going to do next year. And we're going as a family to do that, and it's really quite important. But over the last 3 or 4 years, they've been joining us on most occasions. And on one occasion, about 3 years ago, we took them to their favourite waterfront restaurant in Florida. And we ordered their favourite drinks. I think it was a Jack Daniels and I've forgotten the other one. And we put them by the urns, and they had a place at the table, which was a little disconcerting for the staff. And we requested the pianist, who was a live singing pianist, to sing their favourite Frank Sinatra numbers. And she did come up afterwards and she said that this was a first for her, but not for them. And so they're here now with us now, dressed for the occasion. And next, I really, obviously very important to me is I lost my mother sadly 2 years ago, and I would love to have been here for this day. And it was, just a quick anecdote, it was about 5 years ago I arranged to introduce Zin to them. And I specially arranged, they live up in the Highlands in Speyside, and they were coming down to Edinburgh for the day, and we arranged to meet them at a restaurant just up the hill here, just literally up the corner here, the living room. And I'd arranged to meet Zin, and then I would go and meet my parents, and I'd keep between Zin and my parents and just let her in small doses. And there I was sitting on the tarmac at Heathrow when suddenly the captain announced that there was a problem with the plane and that we were going to have to change planes. Now I immediately had a panic attack and realised that I was going to be at least an hour late and I wasn't going to be there, and I got on the phone and said, "You'll have to go and meet my parents on your own," which was really quite upsetting. And I had this image of shocked parents reading from a dose of undiluted Zin, the short skirt, the outrageous bluntness, and what would they think? And anyway, after about 2 hours of palpitations, sweats, and generally feeling very agitated, we arrived at Edinburgh. I rushed into a taxi and said, "Please, take me to the living room, quickly, quickly, quickly." And I had to be there. And I arrived panting, sweating, dreading what had gone on, only to find my mother, who was in a wheelchair, sitting there, absolutely engrossed in conversation over drinks with Zin, laughing, joking, absolutely having a great time. And they apparently actually got on like a house on fire. And I must admit, that's the way it's been ever since then. Zin adored my parents, and apparently, I did hear, though, the little aside here wasn't in my speech, she did think she was a bit odd at times, but actually, wacky was the word. But she adored her, and that has actually been very important to me. And so that's why I know my mother would have been very happy today. But that's particularly why my wife? First time I've said that word for a long time. She asked my father to walk her down. Well, it wasn't really the aisle, was it, folks? But it was the next best thing to it. Yes, and this was very important to her, and it meant a lot to both of us that my father actually was here, and not only that, he cared enough about Zin to actually take her arm and give her away. So my first toast is very much to those departed family members and to my father.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
So, before saying a few words about my bride, which I'm